25th of the Harwich Cemetery Commission to order
At 9 o'clock?
at 9 o'clock. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
This conference will now be recorded.
That was late. Okay, we'll start off with an email from Michael Andronovich
Yeah, so,
from AmeriCorps.
I met down at the Marceline Arboretum with Michael, Amy Usowski, our conservation agent, and both of our AmeriCorps members, Maddie and Jody, to go over the projects that we want them to complete while they're in service this year. And we went over the pathway that's going to be going down from the cemetery to the conservation parcel. And we went back and forth, and they'll be installing the split rail fence. There's been some trees that have fallen recently in the area, so we're going to take those and line the pathway with the fallen trees. And then they'll do the brush cutting all the way down and meandering so that people do not go down that steep hill. And what they're going to do is then drag some of the actual other debris and kind of like block that pathway so that the vegetation goes through it. So we did that. We went over to the lily pond and I showed them what we had approved for the pruning near the grave spaces that was approved by the Conservation Commission. And they said they could probably do that in the same day. Then we went up to the back and we went over where we're going to be planting the native species garden, which probably won't be till the springtime. And they're gonna do that, went over how big of a project it was. And both Maddie and Jody will be working on finding some species for us to plant there, hopefully some that we don't already have in the Arboretum, but I'm sure the majority of them will probably already be there because it's a native species garden. But, so they will be doing that on March 3rd. They'll be putting in a split rail fence, and then they'll get back to me when it gets closer to springtime about the planting of the native species garden.
And the split rail fence is gonna go where there's that little parking area.
Yeah, it's gonna, we're not gonna delineate the entire parking area, because we have to go back before the Conservation Trust, probably with grading and stuff like that. But what they're gonna do is the two graves that are on either side of the entrance, they're gonna put the split rail fence there so people do not drive over the graves. And then they're gonna put the split rail fence meandering kind of where to guide people into the pathway. They also asked if we could approve a sign once it's finished that says trail. So it'd have a little trail sign, and we can mount it so that people know that that's the trail that we want them to use. So I'll look with Amy at what the trail signs they currently have, and maybe I'll bring that back next week, because we have a meeting next week anyways. And then that way we can have the,
Is it February already?
yeah, it's gonna be February. Just flying by.
It's crazy,
Do
isn't
we
it?
have it match the signs, the road signs that are in Highland Pond? Town makes those, don't they?
They do, but they're pretty low, and they're like street signs, which they're already they're updating a whole bunch of those for us. And I don't know that they don't make the trail signs, but they're really the conservation has brown ones that
Right,
just say
right.
trail with an arrow. So they might already have those made up somewhere, so I'll find out from Amy
Thank you.
if they already have them made up or where they get them. So, I mean, they have so many trails, I'm sure they get them at a very inexpensive
price.
cost.
We gotta move the rock.
Yeah, and then the rock, we're gonna do something with prominently place the rock and maybe do some plantings around it or something like that. So that'll be in the parking lot next phase of it, so we'll have to go back out there and visit it after this in March, and then you guys can maybe decide what you wanna do from there. I'm very excited, because, as you know, all these AmeriCorps projects, they do them for the town, it doesn't cost us anything. And they do all of this work, and they come back, and they do amazing work, so it's very exciting when we have AmeriCorps do any of our projects for us.
It's cool.
Absolutely.
And do we need to put a parking sign back there too, if that's a little parking area?
I think not until it's actually been graded and stuff. We don't want, so we gotta figure out what material that they're gonna allow us to put down, whether it be wood chips from trees that we cut down, so that people don't get stuck, because it's
Right.
really nothing holding that soil in. And I don't know, because it's so close to the, kind of like the water right there, I don't know what would be allowed. So we want to just make sure that we check with the Conservation Trust what's allowable for the surface material that we're gonna put down. I'll actually probably try to go out to some of the existing parking areas that they have in conservation, or if you guys wanna do that, to see what they're using there. Maybe we can come up with some ideas from that.
Okay.
There's plenty of parking areas.
Now we have an email from Joe Powers and a question around the budget discussions.
Yeah, so all the department heads are going to fill out this little form that we got. And I took a stab at it and Rob actually helped me out a little bit on this one. So it has to describe our core mission and service of our department, the cemetery department. And I wrote, the Harwich Cemetery Administration is dedicated to and the responsibility for care, maintenance, preservation, and improvements of 98 acres of grounds, monuments in the Marceline Arboretum. Our objective is to offer the people of Harwich and their families burial grounds in service consistent with the town's needs and a social and cultural needs of its residents. And our cemeteries beautiful and historic settings. And we strive to preserve and maintain our cemeteries while simultaneously developing and improving new sites and offering new interment service in a financially responsible manner. So I had it, for you guys, I kind of made it, because it's hard because these boxes cut it out, so I gave you the
Okay.
abridged version, like, so it's on a separate stapled sheet, Cindy.
Mine's on the back.
Mine's on
Yeah,
the-
yeah. So we just had to answer these 5 questions, and this is gonna aid the Board of Selectmen
They're right on the back.
when they go through our budget. And I've also been doing a survey of all the other towns and all the other cemetery departments, which hopefully if I have that finished by the next meeting, I can include in our packet. And what their responsibilities are as far as, so all of them have office staff. The only one that has a part-time office staff, similar to us, is Yarmouth, has a part-time office person who types the deeds, also meets with people in the absence of the cemetery employee who does my job. And I'm just going through and compiling all that information, which I think will aid with this information, so that when we do go before the Board of Selectmen about the different things. So I did
When do we
Dennis.
do to do that?
What?
When are we supposed to do that?
After we submit this this has to be submitted this week to administration, and then they'll pick a day when they're gonna want us to come in and present the budget. So we won't know until they get all this information in. So usually we go before FinCom, and then we go before the Board of Selectmen.
Okay, hopefully it's sooner than later, because we're planning on taking off the month of March.
Yeah, no, it's definitely before, it's usually in February. Okay, so then it says, describe the proposed budget supports to the core mission and service. And our proposed budget will provide an additional 1 part-time staff member to assist with administration functions. Budget also seeks to address the need for additional burial space in our town for both new cemeteries and expanding the older burial grounds. So we are expanding Kelly at some point this year, hopefully. And we have an area in Evergreen that we can expand, but we probably won't expand yet because we already have all that space that we're currently using. And as you know, we expanded Mount Pleasant, and at some point, we'll have to look at expanding Pine Grove. So those are our cemeteries that will be expanding. Then it says, identify any aspects of the proposed budget that expands beyond your core mission. And we just put in a little bit about the cemetery care fund that we have. We always apply for grants when they're appropriate for us, plus CPC articles. And I do at least 1 or 2 CPC articles a year since I've been here. I'm actually compiling a list of all the CPC articles that we have successfully brought to town meeting, how much money we brought into the cemetery department, what year they were from, and what actual projects they went to, just to have as backup for the additional information for the budget So that's money that we don't have to ask the town specifically for out of the general fund to improve the burial grounds in the town. We usually use, whether we're doing the rails at Evergreen Cemetery, or improvements, or all the different cemeteries that we've done over the time, all the stone restoration projects, so. We just want to let them aware. Some of them might not even know that we've done that many CPC articles. I mean, I think we're a pretty active board. And then it says, details and expenses you believe may be purchased in bulk. And so I've been doing this with Emily because we share the same copier. So I usually go out and I buy cases and cases of paper, and I put it in there because I use them and she uses them, and then she buys them during the year as well. And we also, like general office supplies, just like pens and stuff like that. Actually, this questionnaire was sent to us in a fillable PDF, and I do not have that software on my computer, so I have to ask administration.
You don't have Adobe on your computer?
I do, but not in this version, and it wouldn't let me edit it after I sent it from another version. So I tried to do that this morning because Marceline was spelled incorrectly on the form, if you see in the first paragraph. And I tried to put the I in there, and it wouldn't let me. It says you have to purchase the full-blown Adobe version at this point.
No. I have the free version.
Okay.
Bottom right corner, it says fill and sign.
Okay,
You click that, and all of a sudden, all the boxes,
okay.
because I just did it for
All right, perfect.
Cindy's Mayflower application, and,
All right, well, I will check into that.
yeah, bottom right corner, you expand the menu,
Okay,
at least on a Mac, I don't,
okay.
The
it'll
commission.
just make things easier for you if you have stuff like
Yeah.
that, yeah.
It was very frustrating. Okay, and then the last one was describe any enhancement of services and how they support your core mission and service support. So, in here, because it didn't fit in the whole box, I'm just gonna read it from the back. Due to both the increase of end-of-life preparations because of the pandemic and general increase in the population, for those both physical and emotional ties to the town, we have seen a large increase of day-to-day duties for the cemetery administrator. Currently, the administrator must do her work on vacations, paid days off, personal days, sick days, and somebody has to be at the burials. It's impossible for one person to be on call 24/7, 365, and this creates coverage gaps for services that are needed to be addressed immediately. Additionally, there's an urgency to survey older cemetery spaces and older family lots for increasing demand for cremation burials. We do want people to use their older family lots. If they have, 5 or 6 spaces still open in Island Pond because people bought, 10 grave lots, we don't want them to go unused. We really kind of want them to use those. But we have to do a little bit of background research on all of those lots. We have to make sure that we're giving it to the right person. Sometimes you have 6 siblings. Some of them have to sign off. It's not a race you want to win. I'm first to die, so I get to go in there. But you have to make sure that, so if the parents own the lot and they had 5 children, those 5 children, unless it's designated in their will, inherit an equal share of the grave spaces. So they might each inherit 1 grave space. But if both the husband and wife are cremated, they both can go in there, and if somebody else. So it's important that we do that, but it takes a little bit of more time than just somebody who owns a cemetery lot that says, I'm going to engrave space 1 of the lot me and my husband purchased, and we have a 4-grave lot. That's quick and easy for burial. We had 3 full-body burials coming up this week, plus 2 cremation burials. In 2 of those, I had to sell cemetery spaces too. And the other ones were in existing cemetery lots, none of which were their own lots. They inherited them. They were either their parents' lots or a sibling's lot. So 2 of them were inherited from their parents, and 1 was a sibling lot. So the sibling called me and said, I'm putting in my brother next to my mother. that was clear cut and dry, but sometimes it's not clear cut and dry, and there's a little bit of
Yeah.
more information you have to dig up and try to find on these older lots, so it can be time.
This is all going in your journal?
Yeah, it can be a little bit time consuming at some times when you're trying to do that. And you have to get these done as quickly as possible, because they're trying to put it in the newspaper. They need to notify the families where they're going, or if they have to buy another cemetery lot because they don't fit in there, then you need to get that done as quickly as possible, so. It's, unfortunately, most of the burials that we're seeing are, we have a lot of mental health issue burials this past year. You know, drug abuse, suicides, and the pandemic. I mean, we've not had as many on the pandemic side, but more on the mental health side. And then our aging population, which, as you know, normally we usually do like 80 burials a year. We're up at 100 burials a year, which I think Cape-wide, everyone's burials are up. But the populations of all of our towns have increased over the last couple years. So I think it's going to continue to increase, and more burials will be at, not just in our town, but in all the towns.
So, since we're live here,
Yep.
100 burials a year, that's basically a burial every 3 days.
Yes.
How much time does that take you to prepare for that burial?
Well, they're all different. So say I meet with a person and they don't own a cemetery lot, I have to then meet with a family who's grieving, and it's harder for them to do it rather than pre-planning. You have to go out, show them the couple different cemeteries that we have, what we have available. Sometimes you go out 1 or 2 times. And then if not, if they're going in an existing burial lot, you have to pull the lot, go survey. If it's an older grave space that's not been laid out, you survey the lot. Then you have to coordinate with the funeral home, which grave space they're gonna then usually meet. This morning I'm meeting with our grave digger for 2 burials that are happening on Wednesday and Thursday after our meeting. So then you meet with who's ever digging the grave, you go over where it's marked out, you show them what burial space you're gonna be, and then you go to the services, and then you make sure they go in the right spot. You have to sign off on the death certificate. Death certificate will come back, then whichever town the person died in, whether it be in Barnstable or in Harwich here in hospice, or whether they were in New York. We had one guy that was on vacation, and we had to coordinate his burial. He was in New Mexico visiting his kids, and he died there. So I mean, it all depends on the actual burial, but it can be very time consuming depending on the situation.
Well, and that was, knowing the answer, that was the point of my question.
Yeah.
Because having worked on this thing with you,
Yeah.
I really just don't think the town knows what goes on in our little department.
Yeah.
And how much time you put
The only
into
time
it.
they usually know when something goes on is when something goes bad. So hopefully, when they don't hear from my department, they can assume everything's going smoothly, because, as you know, when I was on vacation once, guys were supposed to do a burial, which they dug the wrong hole. I mean, we corrected it before the actual burial took place, but stuff happens when things aren't done correctly, so you have to make sure.
And what would be the process if they had completed the burial there? Is there a whole thing?
First, we would have had to notify the people who own the lot and it's desecration of their burial lot. Then we would have to notify the individual whose husband was buried, because then we would have to disinter him out of that spot and put him in the correct space that they actually purchased. So they were in the next lot over. They had dug the next lot over in the wrong space.
So without the proper coverage, which references the 24/7, 365 of your availability, it can be both expensive and embarrassing.
Yeah, it can be very expensive, because they could potentially sue. And you don't want that, so.
So
That being
along
said,
those lines, is your review rescheduled?
I still not have had my review.
We gotta set something up for that.
This is where
I have a question for you, Brian.
Yeah.
The requirement of you going to the funerals, is that the local town Or
No,
is that
that's,
on
that's
state
mass,
level?
that's the mass state law. So on the death certificate, there's a section.
Right.
And on the bottom section of it, it says who witnessed the burial, and it has to be a burial agent of the town. So I am the burial agent of this town.
Right.
Some towns have different people be the burial agent, but every town, someone has to.
Is
So above it is the funeral director signs.
Right.
That he's handing the interment over to whoever the burial agent is.
Right.
And I'm the burial agent, which says which grave space the person went into, that I witnessed it and it's correct, so,
Thank you.
yes.
Okay. We still want a synopsis or outline of what you do in the course of a day or a week, or what needs to be done all the time, so
Okay.
we can address getting help.
Yep. So it's gonna help that I did the survey for the other towns. So, I found out that a lot of the other towns, they don't type the deeds. They all have secretaries. They don't type the deeds, they don't do minutes, they don't, they had lists of stuff that I do. They do not do any budgets. Their DPW director does all of their budgets, so I'm the only one who does a budget. And they don't, for the most part, do any CPC articles or grant writing. They basically do burials.
So that was something that, doing this research for this form, we went into the town handbook, again, being the new guy and still trying to figure out what the pathway is. There's kind of a nebulous flow chart for us, where Robin and Link are kind of co-positions, but the cemetery department is under both.
Yeah.
And we understand that when Link visited us, months ago, to explain, his manpower usage, which is, I get that,
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to park somebody and not pay them or anything. But, I think that at some point should be addressed, that, it's 100 burials a year.
Really?
I think our department and the people that work, contractually or not, for the cemetery, I think that should be looked at. If you pull up the handbook, I should have brought my laptop, but you can see the lines, and they're,
Well, we could put that in, the next one.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
it's just a gray area that and I think we saw some of that months ago when Link visited us. It's like, well, wait a minute,
Yeah.
Because we need more help during the growth season and that, and in the wintertime.
Well, but I think we can also address that with Robin's idea that maybe we outsource. It's like, okay, well, that's going to affect budgets and,
I'm sorry. Thought I turned them all off.
So, yeah, maybe next meeting we could put that on the list to get copies of that out, and we can, and that would be a nice one to have our liaison here for, too.
Okay, all right.
Okay, that looks good then. So then you'll be submitting this one soon?
Yes, I'm gonna actually submit it probably today.
Okay.
I have to make those changes, yeah.
Do you have anything to add to that?
Do you think there's anything you guys want to add? That's why I wanted to put it in the packet, just in case.
I just wanted it
Or-
strong enough.
Yeah.
that
We appreciate you
it
helping
showed
get that
what
going.
Robin did. And, when we spoke on the phone, and you were searching the state for
Yeah.
people that do your job,
Yeah.
you did remove the filter of the term administrator, right?
Right.
So it's just people that do your job regardless of what they're called.
So in Barnstable, there's 3 different people who do
Yeah.
different levels that do the cemetery job. One does budgeting, you know what I mean? They each have a different role, but it's 3 separate people. And then they have a department of 7 that are the foreman, and then underneath him that maintain their cemeteries, which is
And 100% dedicated to the cemeteries, or
Yes.
tag team like we do here?
correct. So I'm going to get all that information as well, just so that we have it, because they have similar acreage to us. They do double the amount of burials, but they have a lot more staff. I mean, a lot more staff.
Well, but, and to be fair, I mean, that may not be efficient either.
Right.
I mean, being a taxpayer, it's, well, I don't care how big your department is.
Right.
If you're wasting money, you're wasting money. So, I mean, there is some happy medium
And
that I
most of
think
the
we
towns
should-
now, originally, all the cemetery departments used to dig all their own graves. So they would have backhoes, they would dig all the full-body burials, which most of us have seen a decrease in full-body burials. We haven't really seen that much of a decrease here in Harwich because our population's older and a lot of the older people like traditional burials. But all of the towns now are outsourcing that. So every single town now, even Yarmouth just went last year, they were probably the last holdouts. They were digging all of their graves, their full-body burials, and now they don't do that. Some of them do their cremation burials. They do dig their cremation burials. We do not. And I'm gonna get a comparison on that, how much revenue that actually
Well,
brings in as well.
again, that may be expensive eventually too.
Yeah.
You know, initially when you outsource, I saw this at my old job,
Yeah,
you're saving money by outsourcing. And then there is the creep from the outsourcing bills, and suddenly it's not, but you're trapped because they're the only people that have the skill set to do that job.
right.
And you've given it away, and it's more expensive to take it back. So
Right.
outsourcing isn't always the silver bullet.
Right.
Okay. Now we have an email from Christy Bailey looking for burial sites.
So, I get these all the time, so I thought I'd just put this one in for instance. So usually about once a week, and this is gonna be great once the, software's up and running, for, say, the Arboretum, and then hopefully next year we can add another cemetery to that software package, so we'll have to discuss that at some point, which one we would go with next. I don't know if we would wanna go with Evergreen or Mount Pleasant, but we would probably wanna pick one of those two, but anyways, so people, she is trying to, she got a request from somebody from Find a Grave, and they're looking for these 3 burials. I could not find them in the database that I have in Mount Pleasant, and she believes that they were in Mount Pleasant. I do have access to the Harwich Independent, and so I can pull all the old obituaries, believe it or not, up to a certain point. So I did pull these obituaries. They were buried in Harwich Port. It doesn't say they were buried in Mount Pleasant. Their father, Joseph B. Kroll's father, is buried in a lot, and his mother, and they both have memorials. But these 3 people do not have memorials that I've been able to find. So I'm coming to the conclusion that they probably were buried in that lot because it was his parents, and no one ever put up a memorial for them. So I'm gonna do a little bit more digging, so this is just another thing that's a little bit time-consuming for us to do, to try to answer this. So somebody wants to visit this grave and has requested to find out where they are, but we do not have a memorial for them. And I can't say 100% for certain that they're in their parents' lot. I can just try to figure out by, taking out all the other Crow lots, looking at every single Crow lot that's in there, and I think there's 10. So I have a funeral. I have 2 funerals in Mount Pleasant this week. So while I'm at the funerals, I kind of do double duty. I usually get there ahead of time because I have to wait to see how people come in. Might want to make sure they don't go in one way and somebody comes in the other and then they can't get out. So I usually assist with the funeral procession to make sure that they're going in and coming out the right way. So while I'm doing that, waiting, I'm gonna survey these Crow lots. And so then I can have a definitive answer for this lady as to where I am probably gonna guesstimate. Maybe I'll find a memorial and luck out, but more likely than not, because so it was just a child that died. I think he was 7, and then the father. And then I believe she was the mother, but then she got remarried. So once I figure all this information out, then I'll try to find them. If I cannot find them, then I'm gonna give her my best guess that they're probably in the parents' lot. But I am gonna include the obituary so that she knows that they are in Mount Pleasant at some point, and we might not be able to define exactly what lot they went into, but, this is just another one of those things that I do.
Would you probe the lots to see if someone's down there?
We can try to, but I can assure you that these people probably were not in vaults. They were probably in wooden caskets, and it's been over 100 years since they've been buried, and I don't know what kind of stuff we could find. I could try to do a scan with my GPR equipment. Again, that would, we'd have to, Brian usually uses that with me, who works for the DPW. It takes 2 people to calibrate it and do a survey of that as well. So we could do that, but it would require a lot more work. But we could try to find them. It's just, I don't know if I have enough time.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask. I mean, where would this fit on your
Right.
to-do list?
It's not high on my to-do list. My number one thing on my to-do list is to do the burials, which,
So this is, if they wanted to use grave space there, then that would bump it up to a high
Correct.
priority. We'd have to know, you
Yeah.
just can't go.
and I don't know that that's not the end objective.
Right, so, but,
Yeah.
so it's important to know
Right,
who's where after, record-keeping lapses.
right.
But since they're not gonna bury there right now, it's,
Right. And the thing is that, so, in the cemetery lots that we currently have, you look at the way they're laid out, and you can almost see if there's a depression. You can tell that there's probably a burial there, because of the way, when you put somebody in a regular wooden casket, and then as years go by, you can actually see a depression, and you know that there's a burial there. And you can tell from seeing a lot of the times. And some of the times, it looks like there's never been a burial. And if you go to probe it, and it's so hard that it's just, you can't get through it, is probably not a burial there. Because at some point, the soil would have been,
You fluffed it at
Yeah,
some
yeah.
point. But even if we found 3 places in there, we don't know who's in which one.
that is correct,
So it's just,
correct.
they could put a
Speculation.
monument up if they want with the 3 names, and
Yeah.
that's what happens. Now we have the submission of the 2021 annual report.
Yep, so I just took the report that we had initially, that we put in when we went before the Board of Selectmen. I just have to update a couple of the different things. I put it in here because I didn't know if there was anything that you guys thought we could have missed or needed to add to this report. This is due by Friday, so we really don't have to, do it right at this moment. But it's in the packet, and if you guys see there's anything else that you, that we want to add. I do want to say that, the Arboretum software is almost completely finished. And, that was Steve who was calling me. Anyways, he wants to go before the Board of Selectmen and yourselves and give a demonstration. So we have now a tab now that are, lots for sale. And it shows, so it has all the ones in the cremation section and the few, full body burial lots that are available in the regular, cemetery at this point. And it just walks you through. It's kind of like a, shows you as the, coming in, like a flyover into the cemetery, and then it, it shows you how to navigate the tabs, how to click on the different tabs, where it brings you to. He's also updated most of the veterans. And as I was going through the veterans, I did find a few more, and I called Rob, that were killed in action. So we are trying to get a list of all of our veterans who were killed in action for maybe Gold Star Memorial at some point. So it's a lot of research. Maddie is also helping with that stuff for us. Steve is doing all of the we're taking all the photographs, and he's importing them all, uploading all the information. If family members want to send us in information on their different veterans, or anybody that's buried in the cemetery, we would love them to do that. they can submit it on the page itself. So I think what I'll do is I'll include the link in the next packet, so that way if somebody, somebody else wants to view it, and then we could give a demonstration at our meeting, but I'd also like to do it at the Board of Selectmen, so that they can see the progress that the software has done so far. I know that a couple of the other cemeteries that I know that have done software, one of them used Cemetery 360, who we were originally gonna go with, and they were a lot more expensive, actually. And now they're dropping Cemetery 360 after they had it for 3 years, because their rates have increased so drastically. So, they're interested in looking at our software now, because ours is so inexpensive comparatively to what they, and ours does more than theirs does. So, I think that everyone's gonna be very pleased with the product that we got at the end. And, we're gonna try to have, every single grave space in there photographed and uploaded at some point. We might need some more volunteers or something to help do that. That wasn't part of his requirement for the software. He was just to index all of the grave spaces. We gave him the database. He took in all the information. And so he will get you to the spot where it is, and it'll give you a 360-degree view around the different areas of the cemetery. So you'd still be on like West Main West, and you'd be looking in the area, and it would be within that 25 feet. So it's not gonna bring you, some of them, once we have the photograph of the stone, it'll bring you to the actual GPS coordinates, but it wasn't part of it to index every single stone. So that part, we're still working on. And
In the future, and we own the database?
oh, we own it all, yeah. We
Okay.
own the whole thing. Yeah, no, they just host it. So we own we own the software, and we own all the
So,
stuff.
I mean, like that other town, if you had to switch hosts.
So they still own their stuff.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but it's they charge a lot of money to do the 360-degree view, and they're asking for X amount of dollars more now, and the functionality wasn't exactly what they thought they were getting. Ours actually does twice as much stuff for half the amount of money. So, he saw ours and was like,
Give them encouragement to raise it.
hopefully our vendor isn't hearing that.
Now, this is all with the app too that we have?
What?
That all works with the app that we have on the phone?
Yes. Yep. So that if
Not
the app-
everybody's listed in there yet though, right?
No, so I think
Because I
if we
Googled
put.
my father-in-law and he doesn't show up.
Yeah, so not everyone, and he's brand new. So I actually gave him the database 2 years ago. So a lot of the people who have been buried or were buried slightly before the database was given over to them are not in there. So all the new people we have to do, which we've had a couple hundred burials since then. So we'll have to do that. And volunteers can do that, or I can have Maddie do it. But we're just going street by street now and verifying that we have everyone. So she's on Cranberry Circle, and she's going through the whole Cranberry Circle to make sure everyone, and then she's gonna go up the next road. So, by the time she leaves, we'll make sure that every single stone is in.
Every morning at coffee, I pull it up just to make sure I'm not there.
Send us an email if you are.
Yeah. So on the annual report,
Yeah.
when Robin and I were working on this, the financial statement, we whittled it down so it wasn't confusing.
Yeah.
Because if you looked at the ledger, the numbers they just didn't spell, I mean, they were correct.
Right.
But this was just an easier format to understand, as long as you guys were okay
that's
with
great.
that.
So I just have to update this all because we took in a little bit more money at the end of December. So I just gotta update that number, and I don't think we had any more expenses, and then I'll do the balance. So I just have to update those two numbers
So
before.
you're gonna make it a December 31st date?
Correct.
Okay.
So those are the only changes I have for that. And I'm
Have any
gonna,
more burials or anything?
so I'm gonna adjust the burial stuff, and that's about it. And then I didn't know, let's see. So we're still updating the rules and regulations. We're hoping to go to town meeting, which is great. We do have the East Howard CPC article. So then, this is the stuff we're focusing on the last page. So, the Civil War, this is a very, so I got a phone call from Duncan Berry. He is working with the DAR, and they are doing an event in the North Harwich Cemetery for some of the Revolutionary War veterans that are buried there. And they've been working on compiling, so he's gonna get together with me and we're gonna cross-reference our lists, because they're doing something for this huge anniversary coming up. And so he's very excited about it, and he's been meeting with a group of individuals in our town to work on that as well. So maybe I can talk to Duncan about coming in and talking to us about what their upcoming event is. He was supposed to shoot me an email. I mean, he called me last night, but I didn't get it this morning, so it's probably in my inbox now. But I will check with Duncan about what they're planning on doing at the North Harwich Cemetery, so that way we're all on the same page. And I'd love to attend it. I'm sure it's gonna be amazing. Anything that he does is pretty well done.
On the focus on 2022, we need another bullet for the surveying that's taking place, because that's part of the
Okay,
first paragraph
okay,
in the budget report.
okay. So you guys can, if you know, I'm not gonna, I'll probably submit it on, I'd like to submit it on Wednesday, if at all possible. But if you guys could just read it over, and if you can think of anything else that you would like to add, just shoot me an email, and then we'll include it in the book, okay? But I think we've already, done such a good job. I don't think we have to do too much more on that.
No, the report came out good. Okay, the rules and regulations? Or does anybody have any other business? Correspondences or anything like that happened?
I actually did just get a letter from a family that wants to sell back 3 of their full-body burial spaces in Island Pond. I'll put that on for the next week's agenda. I just got that in the mail, but we'll be adding that to next week's agenda, and then we'll address it then.
Now we get the rules and regulations review. We should be wrapping this up pretty quick, I think.
It looks great.
Now, we emailed back and forth, and there's a list of, Cindy had some suggestions. I changed one thing, and I know Rob's been busy as all get out, typing things and moving things and doing a great job as far as that goes. The cover page, is everybody happy with that? Do you think that needs to be
I think it
realigned a
looks
little
great.
bit?
Looks good.
Yeah, I like that. And then we have the table of contents. We have to add more stuff if we put other stuff in, so.
Yeah, that'll have to just, that was just a placeholder.
Okay, then we have the administration, the cemetery commission.
So the only thing I want to change here is my hours of operation is 7:30 to 3, not 3:30.
Okay?
Then page 3 or the top of page 4, replace any unusual circumstances. No, there's nothing on page 4. Rules and regulations shall be determined by the cemetery administration.
So this is what you brought?
That's what, remember we emailed back and forth? Cindy put in some changes, and I put changes, and
Yeah,
this is what you sent back?
so,
Any unusual circumstances, exceptions to these rules and regulations must be presented to the cemetery commission. And we'll deal with them on a case-by-case basis. Do we need to
yeah,
add
so
that?
that's, isn't that in, we did that, it's at the bottom of page 3?
Yeah, looks like
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that, yeah. Okay, I think I put that in there as soon as you guys sent me that.
Okay, then she said Herring River Cemetery was listed twice.
Herring River, I only see it once. Under inactive,
Yeah.
Yeah.
maybe I
Yes.
fixed that too.
Yeah, it's only in once.
Okay.
I'm just going over this.
Oh,
stuff.
okay.
No, yeah.
No.
Then we have the rules and regulations, that first paragraph. I made some changes.
Oh, wait a minute. Hey,
Oh, wait,
just go
wait.
back up just a second. East Harwich Methodist Church, also one,
Yeah.
did I fix that one?
So and Church Street should be one, right, Cindy?
Yes.
So where are we looking here? At the Methodist Church?
Old Methodist Cemetery, no, excuse me, Methodist Church Cemetery, also
Church.
known as Union,
Yes.
corner of Queen Anne. It's 1 Church Street, not 15.
So I should leave it as corner of Queen Anne?
Yeah, I think so.
Corner of Queen Anne and then 1 Church
Really
Street.
not.
It's not the
It's not
corner.
on Queen Anne Road.
Queen
So-
Anne and Church Street.
So it's just 1 Church Street.
Yeah, I would just put 1 Church Street.
Okay.
Take out the corner?
Yeah,
Very good. 1 Church Street. Okay,
it would be.
East Harwich, all right. Visitation rules, so that's page 5.
Yeah, I had that one change that was on the beginning, that first paragraph. I pulled out the part about all visitors are requested to keep in mind the cemeteries are consecrated to the memories, and put that just inside. Just pull that out, because it doesn't sound like that's a rule, it just sounds like this is how you should be behaving without,
Yeah, where do we put that? I don't think we yanked that.
no, we haven't yanked it yet.
Second sentence. All of it is a request to keep in mind.
I pulled the whole, where'd it go? Because it was all on this thing. The old, so the new suggestion, yeah, it's written underneath the new suggestion, you pull that whole section out, and then there's a section that says, these rules and regulations have been adopted. So I just divided it up, as it says down in this part.
I have that on page 5. Is that on a different page?
Like the second page in this pamphlet I handed.
So you want to
Oh, I see, so you're on your page 16 here,
Yeah.
and you're,
And that goes to this first question, number 1 under visitation rules. And I had that new suggestion on how to rewrite that.
oh, I see what you did, okay.
So you want this new instead of that?
Yes.
So you would like all visitors are requested to keep in mind that cemeteries are consecrated to the memories of those who are buried within. Dignified behavior is expected and be required at all times?
Yep.
That's what you want in there?
Yeah.
And we're
As the
gonna-
first opening, like it's not numbered or nothing, but it's underneath visitation rules.
Okay.
And then go with these rules and regulations have been adopted in advance. And secure these public interests, or to secure the public interests.
All right, so let me just back up then. So the first sentence, the grounds are not a playground or recreational area. I mean,
Somehow I left that out.
some of that, though, came from the discussion of kids on skateboards, the people picnicking.
Didn't we address that farther down in the,
Well, perhaps, it's just, well, there's recreational sports.
yeah. Maybe we can put that part of the sentence at the end of that initial blurb I had there.
You know, and I think some of this, we picked and choosed from other towns. But, I mean, I do like the first sentence, and then the very last sentence in the paragraph, The rules and regulations have been adopted in advance to secure these public, or the last sentence, the
Yeah.
loud, boisterous, or undignified behavior will not be tolerated. I mean, you know, the offenders are not going to be looking at these at all,
Right.
but, you know, I guess push came to shove, if we needed to and had to have HPD involved, we could, I mean, I kind of like having that as at least a line number that we could go,
Yeah, we
right
can
here,
take that.
this page, this number, thanks for your help. Sorry,
I
sorry
might-
we called you out.
actually, I think that we should put that in there, because we do have those groups of kids that do go in, that play that loud music and are very disrespectful, and we've had several complaints about them.
Well,
And I think that
So
this,
should we take that first sentence, the cemetery grounds are not a playground, and that last sentence and put them as a number one?
oh, I was gonna say we take that and then stick it
Stick-
where in between 3 and 4. And just create a new 4
And just renumber
and then
from
just
there.
renumber.
Okay.
Is there, what do you guys think of that? I mean,
So
then
you-
it's a bullet there, and,
so what's gonna be the new 4?
so the new 4 would be, the cemetery grounds are not a playground or recreational area. Loud, boisterous, or undignified behavior will not be tolerated. And then we use Steve's recommendation for 1.
Okay, that or, just leave it as it is. Number 1, the grounds are not a playground or recreational area. Loud, boisterous, and undignified behavior will not be tolerated.
Hey, leave that as one and just pull that little part out and stick it up
Put
ahead.
the last sentence as the second sentence. I don't know, if you want.
What, so you want to take the first sentence and put it,
No, leave it, the first sentence, the grounds are not a recreation area. And then the second sentence, the loud and boisterous, undignified behavior will not be tolerated.
And put that as
That's
number
the
one.
second sentence right there in number 1,
oh, okay.
if you want.
And then leave all the rest there,
Yeah,
all the visitors?
And then put all the visitors' requests and put that as that subheading. Like this is Harwich Cemetery rules, and then put the main body of that there, and then you start number one,
How
all
about-
that below it.
How about we take your suggestion, which is what's left after rearranging, and then that becomes like a preamble prior to number 1.
Yeah,
good
I
idea.
mean, because, I mean, it just seems that our commission here has always been about the care and the tone and,
Yeah,
you know, so that sets the tone, and then we can go rules.
Yep.
You know, and if we have
that
to.
was sort of my idea when I did that.
All right. How about if I'll wordsmith that and.
oh, that's great.
and-
Right, thank
Is
you.
that okay?
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
that way we can just bring it back to next week, and it'll be done.
Right,
Yeah.
Perfect.
okay.
'Cause I think this is all coming out really good, though.
Yeah, I think so too.
So I think we had been through, oh, wait, I'm sorry, you have more?
Yeah, Cindy did, just rewording different things.
Oh, don't worry about that, so. No shortcut and stuff, don't worry about that. Although, we did say something about, says recreational sports or similar activity, including bikes, et cetera, are prohibited. But we really needed to put in, I think Rob said, respectful visitation on bicycles is allowed.
Yeah, I have a guy that goes in every day.
Right.
He's on his bike and he visits.
Yeah. So how would we put that in there? After bicycling, put in like in parentheses, maybe? Respectful visitation.
Well, I think, yeah, the
bicycles?
non-recreational use of skateboards, rollerblades, or bicycling for the purpose of respectful visitation will be permitted.
Yeah,
Oh, there it
That's
is,
in
right, yep.
Yep.
Yep, that's
I think
good.
that's good.
Yep, thank you.
And then she's mentioning about changing rubbish containers to trash. Where'd that go? To trash barrels instead of rubbish containers?
Page 5, number
That's not
10.
Number 10, first page.
She was just saying, keep it as rubbish containers? Or is there a more elegant way of saying that?
Also, trash should be disposed of in rubbish containers. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's either one. I mean, we can, trash barrels is,
Trash.
yeah. Change it to trash barrels?
Or trash barrels probably.
Trash barrel sounds.
Okay, trash barrels. Okay. Six. Page 6A burial lots.
Then we would-
So, change, so, wait, Steve, I think this is yours, or is this Cindy's?
This is Cindy's
Page 6A,
burial lots.
well,
It's over here.
oh, burial lots, that's really on 5 right now. To interment of full, interment of the, oh, human dead, yeah. I remember reading that one, and, yeah, maybe we could make that kinder or gentler.
Which one are you?
So where I'm, on page 5, the very last page, sentence.
Cemetery regulations,
The
internments.
interment of,
That is a Massachusetts cemetery term. That comes out of
oh, does it?
yeah, it comes directly out of their,
The Mass State laws.
the Mass State regs.
That's
All
true.
right,
That should stay as is.
Yeah,
then it must stay.
sorry.
That's
So
fine.
because they're referring to,
Right.
the human dead as opposed to animals.
Right.
Or
Exactly.
something like that, and that is the way they, I know, the first time I read it, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Seemed to be a little bit kinder way to say that, but
Yeah.
that's all right.
There was a time there when they were talking about burying animals with their owners, and that's, I think, what brought all that up.
Right.
In, thanks.
Okay. And then we have the section C that you were gonna write.
Yeah, I'm
hang
gonna
on.
get the succession.
Hang on, we gotta go back.
So the thing is,
Don't get too far ahead.
okay.
6D is
D.
D, so that's on page 6, little letter D.
All interments shall be enclosed in a cement vault except infants shall require an approved container. Cremation shall require an urn or other permanent approved container.
Well, I gotta fix the except, that needs to be either a comma and something else, or a list. Infants shall so what did you want changed? You said all adult full-body interments.
Shall be enclosed in a cemetery vault.
So is it adult full-body or just interments?
So usually it's all interments have to be in a vault. The only exceptions if it's an infant.
I think that must have been something
From a prior,
from something else. I think maybe it's been joggled around.
So infants, so you can't, the vaults are,
the vaults are only for full body burial, right?
they're for, yeah, but a baby or a 5-year-old. So we've had 5-year-olds that have passed away, accidents and stuff like that.
I think.
So a vault is so huge
Right.
that, I mean, it's kind of overkill to put them in a vault because they're 8
So to
feet
speak.
by 4 feet.
Don't make
So
smaller
we,
vaults?
so they do have, so they're usually in special containers anyways, because it's such a small burial. So they don't require the same type of a vault. So I don't want the families to think that they have to pay for,
So D is okay except for changing the
yeah,
punctuation.
I think so.
Yeah, I think that comment that I had was from something else.
Yeah.
We might have
Okay.
changed around.
I
Okay,
just saw that at the bottom of one of the things we kept going back and forth. I should bring that up again, see if we need to do something.
So
All right,
I'll do the
so-
generation succession. The only thing is some of the cemeteries, they only do, and, I'll write it up and then you guys are gonna have to vote on it. Some of them do a specific amount. So say only 2 generations, you know what I mean? They don't do like You can't come and say your great-great-great-grandfather is buried and you wanna throw a cremation on top. They don't, that's, you know, and what I'll do is I'll pull 2 or 3 from other towns, and then you guys can take a look at them. I know that.
I pulled something on this page is here from Dennis. That they had just something that you might use as a
Or
template or
descent
something.
of title.
Yeah,
Yeah, descent of title.
Yeah, Robin, you need to get on the stick on this.
okay.
It's been read here for a couple of meetings now. Cracking the
I'm
whip.
sorry, I've been a little busy.
I know. And along those lines, not to jump too far ahead, but A is the same thing. That's you.
The lot sizes.
Yeah, the lot sizes, so, do you wanna do every single lot size, at every single cemetery?
I do. I want it in there. So there's no,
Yeah,
well, it's
Okay.
only, isn't it only like, there's 2 choices, right?
no. So Mount Pleasant had one certain
Yeah,
lot
and
size.
then-
Evergreen has a certain lot size, depending on where you are in Island Pond, if it's an older section or a newer section.
Then I say,
And I would say probably North Harwich is even, probably the smallest
well,
lot size.
then
They're the bare minimum.
let's get them in print
Yeah.
for the succession of everybody in this room, for those who follow us. That's just,
Is Kelly Street small?
No, because they had their older existing lots, and then we laid out a whole new section. So the new section that we laid out where we sell lots now are traditional.
And that cemetery does not have a sign on it.
What? No, we gotta get them, aside. So I wanted to wait till we figure out how we're gonna come in there, and I think if we came in on Memory Lane, rather than using the existing,
Little dirt.
right now, little dirt circle that we have to get into Kelly, if we came up Memory Lane and came in on our now new property line, if we put it there, or see if we could put it down on the street, something. I think if we put it inside Kelly, after you go in that dirt road up the hill and into it, you're never gonna see it unless you're in it. So I kinda wanna go down, we'll do a field trip down there and
Yeah.
then I'll take a look at it. I'd hate to order it and then,
and also the Baptist one is right there too. We should probably,
yeah,
I mean, that's under our care.
right.
All right, so unless there was something on Steve's list.
No, that's all I had was
Then
that.
we left off on page 7.
The markers, headstones, and monuments, we haven't done anything with that.
That's kind of what Robin's doing elsewhere, right?
Now, well, we had Tom in, remember we had Tom in
Yeah.
to talk to you guys about that?
Now, it says the single lot, the first one.
Yep,
You have the headstone, then it says and/or 2 flush markers.
yeah.
Now, are we allowing just, with the headstone, just 1 flush marker? Or is that flush marker for the original burial
could
plus
have-
a second one for cremation?
Yeah, so we were allowing one upright, like one at the top,
Yep.
and then a flat flush marker. So say Cindy and John went in one full body burial, and then say John was a veteran, he could get a veteran's flat military marker at the bottom. So what we were saying is if you didn't want to get an upright memorial in there, at the head, you could have a flat flush marker, and at the foot, you could have a flat flush marker. But you're entitled to an upright marker at the head of the grave.
Now, is that just for the full body burial, or does that
Yes,
include?
that's a single lot, that's
So then
single,
if you added a cremation in that lot, can you put another marker on top of the cremation?
we were only allowing 2, so we didn't want the whole lot paved initially. So if you had, so basically, a lot of people now, when they get their flat flush markers, they usually they've been putting 2 names on them. So I have a lady whose husband just passed, the burial's on Wednesday. She's getting their flat flush marker made, and she's having her husband's full name, date of birth, and date of death. Her name put on there and her date of birth, obviously she's not dead, so that way when her kids do her cremation burial, all they'll have to do is put in the date. So on her flat flush marker, which she's putting at the head of the grave, because she doesn't want it upright, she's gonna have that, but there's still 2 more spaces in there. So say one of her kids wanna use it, they can put in an additional flat flush marker at the foot. So if they wanted to put 2 more names on that, they could put 2 more names on that. But we're not allowing, we weren't allowing them to have 4, because there'd be no grass. There would just be monument, monument,
That's why
monument,
I was
monument.
trying to figure that out, because if it's a full body burial plus a cremation, that's a headstone plus 2 markers, right? Or
No, a headstone plus 1 marker.
Or then we gotta change that.
Yeah.
Because we have or 2 flush markers.
So they can have
The
a
upright
headstone
and 1 flush marker.
or 2 flush markers. They're gonna have 1 upright,
All right, so this should be single lot, colon.
or should we say single? Yeah, single lot.
Yep,
Single lot, colon, 1 headstone,
And 1 flat flush marker, or
2 flush markers.
1 flat flush marker, period, or
2.
2 flush markers.
Correct.
A question for you, Robin, on that single lot
Yeah,
with this 1 full body burial.
Yeah.
um,
so say John was a full body burial and you said, I want to be cremated.
Right. But how many cremations can you put on the top of that 1?
1,
Only 1.
only 1.
Some other towns are
The
adding
only
2.
time,
Why was I thinking there was more than 1?
now, so if
Oh,
you,
I'm sorry, I know what it is. It's the 4 cremations in 1 full body burial
Correct.
lot without the full body.
Right.
correct,
Gotcha,
they
thank
can
you.
have 4.
Now, some towns are putting 2 cremations on with a burial.
Yeah, I know, some towns are, because they're running out of space. We are not running out of space.
Okay.
We have a lot of space.
So that's something we could consider down the road if these things start getting short on there.
I don't know that we would need to do that. We do offer, our cremation lots are so much cheaper than other people's as well. And we are allowing in our cremation lots, which are 3 feet by 4 feet, we allow them to have 2 markers, 1 for each person. And it's $500. So, I mean, a lot of people are going that way that are gonna have cremation burials. They're thinking about, most of those people are thinking about their footprint, and they just want a smaller space. So, a lot of them are just getting cremation lots. I think what we need to do is at some point address breaking up some of our sections in our cemeteries to create more cremation areas where flat flush markers are gonna go in. An example of what Barnstable's doing now in their new cemetery, which I just went to a funeral service, there is no upright memorials. You cannot have any upright memorials whatsoever. Everything is flat flush, and I think they are only allowing 1 flat flush marker per space. So when you go there, it's just a field of green grass. It's kind of like you're going to the
National.
military cemeteries, where it's just grass.
flush
All you see is grass.
Well, yeah, but also in Bourne,
Yeah,
they're stacked. And if the veteran dies first, he or she gets a marker. When the wife is buried, let's say it's that type of situation, if she is buried on top of him or her, vice versa, not being politically correct here, and his marker is removed and a new marker is placed.
with both their names.
Yes, and then some of his or her military designations are gone, and it's just their 2 names.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people are getting away from adding more and more memorials because it's for ease of maintenance. I mean, the flat flush markers will sink, and eventually, years from now, we'll be having to lift them all up, edge them up, doing all sorts of stuff. And I think that what they're trying to create is not having, walking in there, and I don't know, my mother's in a Catholic cemetery in Waltham, and when you go in there, the gravestones are, of course, they do 4 deep. So the headstone is here, and the next headstone is probably this far away. When I go to visit, I have to go all the way down and I'm a small person, I have to go all the way down the row in back 3 lanes to go all the way down to get to her grave space in the back, because their memorials practically touch
Also, you can't pass
You
between.
can't really get through if you're a bigger person. I mean, I could get through there, but I'd be scraping my body against people's stones. I don't want to do that. So, I mean, I pretty much know where she's at, but it's very tight. And we don't want to have a situation like that. And when you do a burial in an area that's that tight, it is concerning because equipment has to get around all these memorials. They're gonna have to either drive over them, and they put, they usually put wood or whatever, or they have to go around the back of them. So depending on which cemetery and which area you're in, if the whole lot is filled with,
Flat marker.
all
Well,
these
do our
markers.
mowers go over the flat flush?
Yes.
Yeah.
They go right over them.
Well, see, again, new guy, and straighten me out.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of, lean a little bit towards Tom at our last meeting. If we have a full cremation lot that's capable of accepting 4 cremations, the person that buys that either has to pre-program who's going to go in, because if we're only allowing 2 markers,
Right.
but if the mowers go over the flat flush, why can't there be 4 markers on top of a gravesite?
I think we're doing it for aesthetics and for maintenance at the same time. So what you're looking at is you would physically have the entire lot would be it would be like pavers.
No,
There would be no grass.
I understand, but it's
Yeah.
flat.
Right.
So from a distance, you don't see that until you're on the road, the avenue, and looking down and go, oh, look at that,
Yeah.
But some of the ancient cemeteries in Island Pond, they have a headstone, and then they have all these little tiny mother, father,
Right.
daughter, son, daughter, sticking
And
up like
and
mushrooms.
It's
and-
extremely hard for them to do maintenance in those
Right,
areas.
but the flat flush, we just said that the mowers go right over them, so yes, I don't want, the New York City burials
You-
where my
So if we
family-
did a full burial lot and if you wanted to put 4 markers, make the markers the 2x1 and don't go all the way to 2x2? Because they're 10 feet long, ours?
No, our cemetery lot's really like 9 feet. We have a buffer zone between, so I didn't want people's lots touching. So if you put your headstone at the back of a lot, ours are usually like 9 feet, I would say, which they only need to be 8 feet. We have an extra foot, and then we have a foot of buffer between that. So there's 10 feet between the front space and the back space. They need 8. We give them 9, but then we give another foot, which is the buffer between that and the next grave space, so that when they put in your vault or your, foundation for your headstone, it's not going up to the inch of the back lot. We didn't want that. And we wanted it so that you'd be able to dig in that 8-foot
Section.
front section without having to move the memorial, because some of them like to put their memorials in when they purchase their lot. They might just put up their last name. So say they put up a memorial that says Chase. They might not have anything else on it except for the word Chase. They just want their lot. Some of them put in their 4 corners. They want to know this is my spot. So my kids don't have to do it when I pass away. I want this all marked out, ready to go. If we allowed the lots to be smaller, say 8 foot, when they went to put in Mr. Chase, they might have to lift his memorial up to dig the foundation, to put the vault in, and then put the memorial back after they fill it back in. So we didn't want to run across that because they do that in other cemeteries, and I thought that would be, first,
Just
the
add that.
monument can get damaged moving it. There's so many things that could go wrong there. People could get hurt. We don't want that.
But getting back to the flat flushes, are we inconveniencing the families by?
It's very rare that somebody says that they want 4 flat flush markers. I've only come across it maybe 3 times in all the times I've been doing this. We do a lot of monument markouts, and most people, when you tell them up front, this is what you can do, they're pretty okay with it. What happens, the people who always want to do it, is the grandchildren and great-grandchildren of people's lots. And then, we don't know what the grandfather's original intent of his lot was. He might have wanted it to be a simple lot, like he wanted, and now we're allowing the fourth generation to come in and do pavers over his entire lot. Because him and his wife could be in the front, and he has mother and father, or whatever he has. And now we've got people that wanna do a cremation burial on top and put another marker there, and I don't know how many generations you guys wanna go with that, but it changes the whole look of his lot. It's gonna change the whole layout of an existing lot. So I don't know that we should do it to older family lots. I think if you guys wanna change the rule and say, if you bought a lot, you, Rob, and it's your lot, and we'll allow an upright memorial and maybe 2 flat flush markers, say you and, so say Shawnee Carroll, her and her husband are buried. They can have an upright memorial that says Carroll, but they are both veterans. So they each both get a veteran's plaque. You know what I mean? So,
But see, with our rule, they can only have 1 flat flush in that, and
right. So I think if it's their own lot, I would feel better about it than changing the existing older family lots.
oh, but see, we can write that in.
We should have something in that says, a cemetery predating this date must be kept in like stones with like setups, and so you can't put all new stuff and just start paving it with markers.
So we only come across this in older family lots. So it's like somebody, and it's it's always more than 2 generations. So, and it's say 2 generations down, you've got the grandparents, then you've got their parents, and now it's their generation and then their kids, and they're thinking, well, we're gonna get all of these people buried in here, and you can have, so an 8-grave lot, you can have 32 burials.
Yeah, cremations, yeah.
So if they're all cremation, so we can't have 32 markers on an 8-grave lot. First, they wouldn't all fit. I mean, it would be very difficult to fit them all in. And then, I don't understand where you would draw the line, so.
I'm scratching my head. I'm trying to wrap my head around what would be best, and our cemeteries, except for Evergreen, have a lot of old sections, and we don't
Right.
want to disturb those sections by suddenly putting a,
Yeah, so if you go in,
Parking lot.
so if you take Pine Grove, for instance, it's a very historic cemetery. It's a lot of older sea captain, has beautiful obelisks. I mean, you go in there and it's like, almost like a history lesson. The memorials are like artwork in there, and that's why we're doing the CPC article to preserve all of those stones and that historic integrity of that cemetery. To take those older lots and those older sections and then change them to look like
yeah,
this.
I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it would change the whole integrity of that cemetery. So what I'm saying is if we have a section, say Evergreen, or say, even if when we do Kelly over, or if we have a newer section in Pine Grove, which is across the street or in the back section, and we want to change the rules for that, I think that would be better, because that would be a whole new section that we are dedicating to. In this section, it's gonna be mostly cremation family lots, and in these cremation family lots, because you can have 4 cremations, we are allowing 4 flat flush markers. I think I'd feel more comfortable doing it in that type of a scenario than doing it in a scenario where we're taking a historic section of an older cemetery and completely changing the way it looks. I just don't think it's,
So we need to come up with these to set up for the an older style the older lots, and then what we think maybe newer lots.
so we used to have something in older existing
Well, we've got-
lots.
That, in D, in existing cemeteries where family lots have been established, those families will be able to add memorials to duplicate the existing markers or headstones.
Right.
So in there, so say if they had, for instance, in one of these older lots that we have in Pine Grove, we have an upright memorial for the grandparents, they're there. And they both have 2 flat flush markers for each one of the parents. And then beside that is one of their sons who was in the military, it's a military marker, World War I maybe. And then now we're doing the 3rd and 4th generation, and they're the ones who are like, well, we can fill up this space with 4, so we want 4 flat markers here, and we want 2 here on this one, and like the whole lot's gonna look not what the original lot owner intended that lot to look. I think when we look at something like that, if you guys are comfortable doing that, that's one thing, but I particularly don't think we should be changing historic family lots.
I think that covers us right there in that D.
Right.
So how do we delineate that?
I think we have to create sections, new sections in some of the cemeteries, which we haven't done yet. So I think it could be an amendment to next year if we want to come back and amend and say, well, we've gone over and now we're designating sections in Evergreen. We can designate a section when we finally do that one area that we took over in Island Pond. That's going to be, as you come up the hill there, going towards kind of where your in-laws are, on the right-hand side. If we say those lots are all going to be cremation, they're going to be traditional style, full-body burial space, and they're only allowed to have up to 4 flat flush markers per grave. So you can have 4 cremations in there, but all the markers are gonna be flat flush. So I think that in those sections, we don't allow any uprights. They're gonna be all flat flush, so the whole section will be uniformed. So I think just like they're doing in Barnstable, where they have their older cemetery lots that have existing upright memorials and flat flush markers, and they are what traditional people want, and then they have the newer sections that are just strictly flat flush markers only.
Will this even be possible to designate?
Yes.
As
So-
opposed to, I mean,
So you would say right now in Nickerson, we have the in Evergreen, we have the Nickerson section. We have we have 5 different new sections in there that we haven't even started selling lots in.
I'm talking about older sections.
So if we designated different streets, so we could call it a different section. So if we did the one, say, in Island Pond, that is on Bayberry Avenue, we can call that Bayberry Avenue whatever, West. And those lots on Bayberry Avenue West are going to be these particular lots. The ones in Evergreen, that'll be in the Ellis section only, we could just say that, will be flat flush markers only. The ones that are gonna be in, say, we can pick different cemeteries and do the same thing. And we could probably do it in some of the sections that we expanded in Mount Pleasant, because we get all of those graves that are against that fence line there. And we could do a whole section in there that is just that.
Okay. So what I was thinking was you have a multi-grave spot that's in an older section that hasn't been used,
Right.
and we would not want to apply these rules to
Right.
that section. And that's what I mean, it's a geographic thing as opposed to placing a date
Right,
of the area.
okay. Yeah, I think,
Maybe we can't say any grave space created prior to,
right, because I think it'd
1945.
be a little gray area depending on when they put their memorials
well,
up. or whatever.
we always add the caveat, at the discretion of the cemetery commission, commissioners.
Right.
That gets a majority involved and,
I just think that people people get upset now. Some lady came and visited the other day, and she was so upset about the fake flowers. So she was buying a lot, and she says, "Do you really allow fake flowers in your cemetery? They look terrible." She goes, "And some of them have been on the grave sites for so long, and why aren't they being removed?" And I said,
Because
"We're trying."
Flowers are out of season.
Yeah, and so we're trying to
Address
do our rules and regulations. We prefer people to plant, how many hydrangeas or rhododendrons do we have in the cemeteries? I mean, we encourage them to do plantings, And we would prefer them not to do the fake flowers, because some of them now look so real that the berries, the animals will eat them. I mean, they think they're real. So we don't want stuff like that. We would prefer to have it natural, you know. and-
All right, so then on 7, we need to specify now, except in designated sections.
In which one?
So somewhere in markers, headstones, and monuments.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to identify the sections yet, that's
Yeah.
just, they're TBD. I mean,
Okay.
you know, we're,
And where do you want to put that in?
well, I don't know. I mean, but that should go in here as, except in designated sections, the following marker,
Okay.
I don't know, I'm not,
So
I
do you
can't
want to
come up with a phrase right now, but.
So where would you put it in?
Well, it would-
Under
it would-
existing?
It would actually be,
So make it a new E, move E down?
no, it would actually be prior to where it says single lot. So we would have to expand markers, headstone, monuments to, it starts with, except in designated sections,
Okay,
these are the rules for markers. Okay, so one headstone, 1 flat flush marker, or 2 flush markers. Okay? Cremation lots, multiple lots. And then D. And then then you would have a new section that says, in specifically designated sections.
so that would be E, move, after D, do E, a new E?
Yeah, or we're gonna have to add like
How about J?
so we would start with a 1, then we have 1A, B, C, D, E, and then 2 would be in newly designated, and specifically designated sections,
Okay,
and then I'll leave it to your discretion, Robin, to write that, so it says, so it addresses, in these sections only, you may have 4 flat flush markers, no uprights,
yeah, no uprights,
because
and you would have 4 flat flush.
these cremation lots are different than a cremation lot, which is a 4x3. So
Correct.
you're only putting 2 in there, but so these are regular full lots that we're allowing 4 cremations per another paragraph.
Right,
But in these designated sections, we will permit 4 flat flush markers only, no verticals, no uprights. Does that sound a way, I mean, that way we can address it now.
Yeah.
okay,
And then, yes, the family that comes in to see Robin and says, well, where can I do that? Because that's what we want to do. Well, fine, then you have to go here or here. This is all we've designated so
And
far.
well, the only other way we could get around it is to create those sections and do more, the thing is it's cheaper to buy a full body burial space and have 4 cremations, because we only charge $800, as opposed to,
Be 1,000 if you bought 2 lots.
if you bought 2 cremation lots side by side, it's $1,000. So you're saving $200 by buying 4 together.
Yeah, but that's not
Okay,
what we're doing here.
Yeah.
We're trying to,
Yeah.
to build boundaries so
Okay.
we know where this can take place. And,
okay,
I mean, I
All right.
think that's some of the the families that come in and want to fill up an older grave space. They're just trying to save money, and okay, well, that's a separate
Yeah.
issue from what we want the Harwich cemeteries. Yeah, I mean, I would love it if it all looked like Bourne. I mean, that's beautiful down there, but it's, that ship has sailed.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah,
that's gone.
yeah.
How about if we did, like, add J, in new specifically designated areas, there will be no upright monuments allowed, only up to 4 flat flush markers on 1 lot.
Well, I mean, I like that. I just think that we need 2 separate. So we would come on page 7 where it says markers, headstone, monuments. I think it should maybe start with a 1
Yeah,
in existing,
cemeteries?
No, unless in a specifically designated area, the following marker regulations apply.
Okay.
And then, after, where you had said J,
Yeah.
number 2 would be in specifically designated areas. And then however, A, B, C, however Robin wants to write that.
Ooh.
Lights are going down, so maybe because we're not moving.
Yeah, it could be
Yeah.
up to
Full, flash
2 to
what's
4
marked.
flat markers per full gravesite,
Right.
depending on what's going on.
So you'll just need to, Robin, you'll just need to take the A, B, C, D, E
Mhm.
from 1 and translate them to
A newer section.
the in specifically designated areas.
Okay.
And we can keep it generic, I think. I don't think it has to be,
Yeah.
I don't think we have to outline,
Okay.
that yet.
Because we can always put an amendment in at some point just to cover some other.
Yeah, and especially if we end up changing just that one section
Right,
at town meeting 2024,
Yeah.
23,
yeah,
then that's just a one-section thing.
right.
We are we have
Yeah,
surveyed.
you don't have to put in the whole thing, you just have to put in this one
Right.
thing. We're changing all of these, so all of these have to.
Yes, the whole thing has to go to town, yeah, I understand, yeah, that's fine.
Now, do we have to take our old,
Yeah, I'm gonna
rules,
I have to do that.
put that in one color and just change the rest of this to a different color since we're going from
Yeah.
this to
Yeah.
this? Instead of just say,
Yeah,
here's the old document.
Rob and I will be able to do that.
It'll be,
We'll just,
be a
we'll
lot of
we'll just
work.
blend it, and then we'll send it to everybody, or have a meeting before town meeting to do it. That's just wordsmithing, edit, copy, paste, and stuff. But, I mean, we were having enough trouble getting through this with that other stuff there. I had to take it all out just
Yeah.
to see it.
Just a suggestion, but how about if we did, instead of the ABC, if we did 1, 2, 3, et cetera, and come down here and then put like, I don't know what it winds up being, like
Give it
9,
a
say 9 is I, and then 9A as in new specific designated.
It's 'cause
specifically
we would have to
designated.
change all the ones above, because I think we did,
Well, I think that has to happen anyway.
Yeah.
Our paragraphs are just completely, we go from one style to another style.
Yeah, we just, like, the next meeting, we can go over this and just get it all uniformed or
okay,
come up with that. And then
Okay.
we could work on how to word some of the markers and headstones. If Robin gets some stuff down, then we can take a look at it and
okay.
so we can get this finished next time.
My thoughts were only,
So instead of a 1 and a 2, 1 ABC Levant, 2 ABC, you say just number them.
whatever you want, just fine.
So
I
I'm
just
gonna have to, so if we could try to work on this as soon as possible, because if I'm gonna post a meeting, I'm gonna have to do the agenda for tomorrow, and then I have to have the packet out by Friday.
Okay.
So I have, in between there, I have 4 burials, so
Okay.
somebody might have to help me with that.
I just thought if we put that extra paragraph in there, it's
Yeah.
like not having to go back next year and have added,
Okay,
change something, that maybe we could just leave it at that, but when we do have those specific designated areas, it's already in there.
okay.
That's good.
Okay, then the definitions, there's a lot of
Do
definitions.
you guys wanna keep all of these definitions?
No.
No.
Okay, so why don't you pick the ones that
Yeah.
you wanna keep?
Which ones don't you like? I went through and pulled some stuff. So that's your turn.
Yeah.
I say we leave burial urn.
Okay?
Or someplace like,
Axis,
I don't think we need that.
okay? Carn,
Where are you? We're just on the
Backside.
definition.
yeah, you're right there, top
I
page.
would say no.
Okay. Well, I would leave this completely up to you
Yeah.
to weed out, and then,
Oh, gotcha, thank you.
no Carn, Cenotaph?
I think
we're keeping urn, right?
Yeah,
we're
Top.
keeping, yeah, the burial urn.
Access, no.
No. Karen, no. I think yes
okay.
for center.
Cenotaph, yeah.
Yep.
Centerpiece,
I
That's only,
don't,
that's only for like multi,
yeah, I don't think we really need that.
Okay? Coffin, yes?
Yep,
Columbarium,
we don't have one,
have them?
Yeah,
so we don't really need it, because we don't have one.
Okay,
yeah, but
I
you
mean,
could,
you wanna leave it in?
you could leave it in. There are other ones in town.
Okay, all right.
So people, you
Know
know,
what
people would know
term
what
it
it
see, I
is.
found this fascinating, so it's like, if the terms are there, then.
if worse comes to worse, we could take this full list and just stick it on our website if people wanted to go
Yeah.
look at it.
That's okay.
But, I mean, it's print, it's
Yeah. Yeah.
just, all it's taken up is a piece of paper and a set of rules, so even having them here, it's really not that big a deal.
So,
Coffin. Copestone.
we do have some of those. We do have some of those. It looks like a little, and if you go in the older sections, we have some of those, so we could leave that in. Cremation,
Yes.
leave that. Crypt. We do have some crypts, so we're gonna leave that.
Emerging stone.
And fully carved with the other, yeah, we can leave that one in.
Yeah.
Epitaph, yeah.
Permanent opening, masonry bench with a high back.
I'm gonna say no on that one.
Okay?
Exhumation, yes.
Yes,
The family stone.
yes,
Footings,
yeah,
the grave.
yep,
Grave multiple,
yeah.
grave outline.
No,
No.
Yeah, take that out.
okay, that one's gone.
Grave curbing, a low border, we're not,
But we don't want those, so.
no, it's gone.
There,
Which one?
Grave curb,
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, we have some in the older cemeteries, but we don't really, we're not encouraging that.
the grave depression,
Uh,
I don't know if we need to define that or not.
well, it's,
you can leave it,
yeah,
because that's how I actually find them in older, like a depression, that's how I know that there's a burial there, in case somebody asks.
Then grave landscaping, do we need that if we cover that in the rules?
I think we cover that.
The grave marker, yeah, we can keep that.
so what, landscaping is gone?
Yeah, I don't think we need that, because
Okay.
we already defined that,
I think it's kind of self-explanatory is what they're doing.
unless you want it.
See, I look at all of this as an amateur genealogist. Not as what's appropriate for the rules. I go, man, that's pretty interesting, I never knew that.
The grave marker, keep that.
Yep,
Grave rail,
no, take it
Done.
out.
Okay,
the graveyard,
Yeah, you can leave that.
headstone,
Yep,
inscription, ledger stone,
yep, we have a whole bunch of them.
okay,
We don't have any of those.
lich
Lich
gates,
gates,
Yeah,
okay,
take it out.
yep.
Yep.
Then the lot,
I don't know that we need to add,
the lot sizes at that
yeah,
point.
this is just a definition, so I don't think we need that red whole section.
okay.
Not at that point anyway, because
Not at that, it's gonna go in the
we're gonna
rules.
define that
Yeah.
in the other section.
Mausoleum, we'll leave that in. Memorial, leave it in. Memorial Park. Only because we're doing the Veterans Memorial
Yeah,
thing, so I think we should probably leave that in.
the monolith,
Yeah, leave it in.
monument,
Yep.
national cemetery,
We don't have one, but I think we should leave it in.
the niche,
You can leave it in case we ever do get a wall. Obelisk,
Obelisks.
we leave it in.
orientation,
I don't think we need that.
because the lots are already pre-set up
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
they're paving. They should know what that is, I don't think we need to define that.
I'm gonna say take it out, I think it's gonna be confusing.
Okay,
I don't think we need the next one,
It's
it's part of a mausoleum.
No, take that out. Pillar, we have some of those.
plot,
Yeah, that can stay.
the rubbings,
Okay, so. So Some
That's
people
why I
have been
did that.
asking me recently, somebody just sent me a letter the other day, they wanna do some in the, Baptist Cemetery in, West Harwich. So,
We could leave a definition of the rubbing, but then in the other part of the rules, we already say that we're not, they have to get permission to do that.
That's
Yeah,
why,
we really
that's why I
don't-
did boldface and underlined.
yeah, so we really don't want them doing, you can do so much more now with photography, and if you go at certain times of the day, it's better than actually doing a rubbing.
But this is just the definition
Yeah,
of what a
we'll
ribbon is.
leave it in.
Sarcophagus,
I don't think we need that one.
that sounds Egyptian.
Yeah. We could use a sculpture in there, I think.
Bury a vault or crypt.
We don't need that one.
Okay.
Slab, any grave marker is usually thin, flat piece.
So we do have some slabs.
The slope, I think that's just the way they cut the stones, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's like a hickey monument. The back of it's higher and to the front, so it has a sloping. We can leave it on,
The tablet, that's like our little flat markers, isn't it?
right.
A tomb,
We do have some holding tombs or crypts, so we can keep that. Tomb faults, a grave marker where a slab or a stone or concrete covers an area of a grave that extends above the ground, where a few inches and a couple feet. We don't have any of those. I don't know if you want to keep it or not.
No.
no.
The
we
Okay.
false one.
Tomb false is gone, okay?
Undressed, referring to stone marker.
I don't,
No, that's just, this, I mean, that'd be like what Link Thatcher has up there, to be
Yeah.
undressed as just a stone that's been carved
right,
versus a fancy thing.
right. You want to leave it?
It's just the definition.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Upright stone, we'll leave that.
wedge stone. So instead of put it vertical, you just got this,
Yeah,
like a wider.
yeah.
I don't know if we can do a wider stone.
I think that's, I mean, we can leave that if you want. I mean, it's just a definition.
That's fine. And then, Robin, you're gonna answer these frequently asked questions. We just
Yes.
found those on some.
Yeah. So anyone can buy a cemetery lot in the town of Harwich. If you're a resident, you get one rate. If you're a non-resident, you get a different rate. Which, I'll just type that up.
Yeah,
How many burials are allowed per grave space? We actually cover those in the rules, so, I mean,
So that one can be yanked out,
okay.
or we can put C rule,
Okay,
yeah. And what's allowed on a grave lot, that's markers and stuff.
yeah,
C, so that's a C.
yeah,
What is allowed on a grave lot, that is a C such and such.
yeah,
C-section, same with the planting.
Planting, C blank.
yeah. And the plantings are gonna be definitely related to which cemetery you're in,
Yeah,
which section you're in. So it's pretty much, they have to ask permission anytime they wanna plant anything on a cemetery lot. So usually they call me and they say, we wanna do a memorial tree, say hypothetically. We wanna know really what kind of a tree you planting. Does it have a tap root? Is it gonna go straight down, or is it gonna have a root system that's gonna interfere with every one of your neighbors? So we don't encourage people to plant anything that's gonna have spreading root system, that's gonna uplift somebody's memorials, as we're now dealing with that one lot over in Island Pond, that the tree is now lifting up all the memorials. So you don't wanna run into that. So usually they ask me, and they, you know, I tell them they need to have dwarfed shrubs if they're gonna do a shrub, 'cause, you know,
But
50
not
years from now,
everybody
no
has
one's gonna be taking care of it, so we wanna make sure it's something that we can maintain. And, we also wanna make sure that the tree that they,
But are you always asked?
I am usually always asked. It's very rare that
Except from
somebody goes and starts
The plastic
planting.
flower group. They don't ask, yeah.
We have really good citizens here. And usually I tell them when they purchase a lot or they're doing a burial, and when we go there, people always comment, depending on which cemetery you're in. A lot of people bought in the newer section of Evergreen so they could have the back row, specifically because they wanted to plant something. And so in some of the sections in Evergreen, because it's on that arc, so there are sections that are made that are kind of like 10 feet in between rows that are supposed to be travel ways for equipment to do burials. So that if we had all monuments in the front, just like we were talking about maintenance, we want to make sure that they're not driving across anyone's grave space, that they're going down these pathways in order to do it. So in some of those sections there, once it's, pretty full, we probably would allow them to do trees in that area. But we don't right now. But we do allow them to do small shrubs. So depending on which area and if it's appropriate. The other thing is we don't want them planting too many things because the water bills will be astronomical because they'll all be watering 24/7. In Evergreen, we have a well, so that and in parts of Island Pond, we have a well, but not in all of our cemeteries do we have wells. And we want to be, aware of how much water they're using. And we probably want to look at, early on, we put wells in a lot of the cemeteries. They were expensive back then, but it was well worth it. I think they've truly paid for themselves over time. But you only can put them in where you're able to. Some of them, we don't have sections to even dig a well to put it in, so. We do have a well in Island Pond, though, which is important. So we are memorializing a tree. We do have a tree that's being memorialized. It's at the entrance. It was for one of a member's son had passed away, and another friend of hers purchased a tree. And when we ordered the plaque for that, it'll say, what it's an eastern redbud tree. It'll have its common name, scientific name, all in, and then the picture of the leaf, and then it'll say tree memorializing whoever, whichever person. Yep. And does the town put American flags on the veterans' graves on Memorial Day? We absolutely do. We are now looking at making sure that all of our veterans are definitely recognized. And ones that just had plain veterans medallions, we are trying to replace all those ones that are in, whether they're in the Revolutionary War, we're trying to have them all have those medallions. If they're in the Civil War, we want them to have those. And we do need to order some just plain veterans, because recently we've had a whole bunch of just regular people who served in the military, but not during active war times, so they don't have a designated war. But we do not have any of those left. So we need at some point to somebody make a motion, that we purchase just plain veterans medallions so that we can put those on the graves.
I'll make that motion right now.
Okay.
Get out your pen.
I'll second it.
All in
Okay,
favor?
so 50?
It's unanimous.
You think 50 of them?
Well, whatever enables you to get a bulk
Okay.
discount, without
Cindy
going
seconds.
overboard.
And it's unanimous?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because we don't want them to not have any flag holders.
Rules for graveside plantings,
So I think I grabbed this from another town,
Medford.
just to try and specify. And some of it we had addressed, how wide a garden could be, or.
So did we decide that these definitions and things like this would go on our website rather than the rules and regulations?
I wouldn't mind, either way, so if we're gonna have them in the rules, if we're not gonna have them in the rules, we need to take them out of the, we have in here definitions. And frequently asked questions on the table of contents. So either we're gonna have to have them in there or not in there, so, I think we should put them on the, I mean, I can update these and we can put them on the page today or tomorrow, if we want to, these definitions and commonly asked questions. I could try to do that this week. But if you want to have them as part of the rules and regulations, it's up to you guys, whether you want them.
You
So
think
my
it's-
only thought is if they're not in the rules and regulations, then it's guidance.
That's what?
Guidance.
Maybe you want to leave them in it?
You know, well, that's just why I had them there, but,
Yeah.
I mean,
We
we
just
do
leave them
address
there.
plantings. But
Yeah, the big thing on plantings, we can figure that out. Because we addressed that in part of the rules, right, plantings and stuff?
All right.
Yeah, down at the bottom of page 13, they're applicable for 4, 6, and 8 grade large or larger. This flower buds must not extend more than 18 inches. Oh, that would be long.
Yeah.
Okay, not wide, okay, I was thinking that they were 10 inches, only 10 inches, but, or the front or the base. That's fine. Answer my own question.
that also continues on the next page on 14.
Yeah.
That's something we want to look over and sort of bring up on the, cover that area next meeting?
That's fine with me, yeah.
Yeah, I'll read that all.
So, just before we finish rules, so when are we meeting again?
Next Tuesday, if possible?
So next Tuesday, Robin, we should have all of the red stuff done
Yep,
so that we can, I mean, we wasted some time going back over some stuff.
right.
But I think since we've now gone through them, we should be up to
This last little part,
this last bit here, and then reviewing what Robin writes up for those red things that are still not done.
Yep,
So we can hit those two items, and then look at this as an entire package. And we ought to be able to vote on that.
yeah.
yeah, because it's due on the 10th.
And then we would have to
Yeah.
somehow go back and intermix the old with the new so they can see the changes.
Right.
Well, but that doesn't have to be done
That
until,
doesn't have to be, I mean,
we have
we
until
just,
May, right, for that?
no. So on the 10th, we have to have any articles submitted to the town administration so that they can start gathering the stuff that they're putting together for the packet to be voted on in May. So what we can do is, we can give them, tell them this is gonna be the new rules. We still have to merge them with the old rules, but at least we'll have a placeholder. This is how much space we're going to need for these rules and regulations. And we can try to get them, we have till the 10th. So if we vote on it at the 1st,
We can print the book up as it's
We-
gonna be, and then,
and then we can just edit it, and maybe we just have a quick little meeting to just review it one last time before we submit it on the 10th. So I think it's definitely doable. I think you guys did a great job, and it's at the end now.
yeah, it's come out nice. It's got better definitions and stuff. And then you're also on the website or something's gonna make out suggested plot layouts of stones and stuff. I think that would help a lot, save a lot of confusion for a lot of people on
Yeah.
that.
And everyone can make next Monday, right? I mean, next Tuesday.
Yeah, as far as I know.
Yep. So we already have the room booked, so and I already got a go-to meeting just in case somebody can't make it.
And then the next is year-end totals for revolving account. I don't see that in though.
Yeah, so I didn't have a chance to do those. I will have those for the next meeting. I can't find one of the deposit slips, so I gotta go through and
Okay.
make sure it's accurate before I submit it.
And any other old business?
Seed vendor?
That's at the end.
Yeah,
That's a new business.
haven't got there
Okay.
yet.
Yeah.
Any other old business? Is anybody still working on, Bank Street Cemetery?
No, so we still have to get Bank Street Cemetery, it's kinda on hold right now. I can't get any of the fence companies anyways to even return any phone calls. But we still have to get a letter from administration to the abutters, and then we'll have to go in there and clean it, and then we'll have to install a fence. I mean, I think it's definitely doable this year, I just think right now, with this budget process and all of this other stuff for town meeting, we're gonna have to just put that on the back burner.
And then the CPC article for the East Harwich Methodist Cemetery, the Union one?
Yeah.
Is that still going forward for?
That's still going forward, we went before the, CPC commission, they haven't told me they're not moving forward on it yet, so I'm assuming they are.
So we're still getting bids on that, or?
So I have to go out and they would like me to
Rebid it?
rebid it, so I'm gonna be doing that soon. I haven't had a chance to do it, but I will definitely do that before I meet with them the next time. They just wanna make sure that the numbers are correct.
Right.
Yeah. Get a up-to-date bid.
And then in new business, we have bills, the water bills, Mount Pleasant, Island Pond, Pine Grove, Mount Pleasant South, North Harwich, and then Web Services of America LLC.
Yep.
And Eversource.
So Eversource was $6.06. The Mount Pleasant building was $45. Island Pond was $58.58. Pine Grove was $64.14. Mount Pleasant South Street is $47.70. North Harwich was $45. South Harwich was $45. Web Services of America, and that was to update the pages, to put in more information about the veterans in pages, and that was $1,797.50. And that was it for bills.
Source.
That's still within our
Yep, so
money that we
actually,
approved, correct?
yeah,
On
all that
the,
money's been approved,
web
and we
service.
haven't gone over. After you guys look at it, if there's any other functions that you guys want to add to, then that would come out of our cemetery revolving account. But at this point, I think we're good. I think,
Figured it was.
I don't think we don't need anything else at this time. I really would love to do another one of the cemeteries, once you guys see this information, and go through it and see if there's anything else you would like to, functions that you would like to have on it. That would be great, but that's it. And then we had 3 deeds. We sold one full-body burial space in Island Pond. We sold 2 grave spaces in Evergreen, and that was for an at-need service. That was actually when I recently had a bout with COVID, as you guys know. So I had on my laptop photographs of the cemetery and what was available and what was not available, because I upload all the pictures off of my phone every week, and so I was able to find that. So I sent that off to the funeral home, and then talked over the phone with the family members. They went out to the cemetery, and we discussed it over the phone where they could purchase a lot. They purchased a lot, and then the burial went on, and then one of the guys from the DPW attended that service. But I FaceTimed the gravedigger, and we had make sure it was marked out correctly, and everything went pretty smoothly. And then we sold another grave space, also an at-need purchase, in Mount Pleasant, and that is for services that are gonna be this week. So,
Then our responsibilities, at this other part here.
You didn't happen to print that up, did you?
I
The one that I wrote?
didn't, I printed up this information I had sent to you.
Out of the state law.
Yeah, this is just, what, the boards of cemetery commissioners' powers and duties. And then when it was, I actually put also in the packet, when it was voted, so at the annual report from 1937, Article number 24, to see if the town will vote to elect a ballot at the next annual meeting for 3 cemetery commissioners for, and so it was put in 1937. And actually, then I put in when the vote was in the annual report of 1938. And the Finance Committee recommended that this article be accepted and adopted. And then, in the annual report, it actually listed, they did a whole bunch of commissions that year. So they did one for, the Trust for Brooks Library, the Park Commission, and then Water Commission and Highway, and then the Cemetery Commissioners all got sworn in that year. But then it just talks about your different, Rob had called and wanted to know what the actual, I guess, in the
Our
town.
job description is?
Yeah, in the town handbook, they don't list us, right? So,
There's nothing in the town handbook for our commission.
right, so,
So I wrote up this thing, and I thought I brought it with me, but I didn't.
yeah, so maybe you wanna put that on as an agenda item for the next meeting?
Did I send it to you? I thought I.
Yeah, I got something, it was attached to something. We had so much stuff going back and forth, I gotta
Yeah.
clean all that out.
Just to have something in the handbook. I think a lot of it's covered by Mass State law, but it'd be nice to be in the handbook as well, so that you guys,
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, we might as well write it.
yeah. So this is what the Mass State, has on their website about your job, and then maybe edit that, and we can put that up.
Okay. Do we have an email from Sean Fernandez, because we asked him about,
Yeah, so I reached out to Sean after our conference and asked him about maybe getting some information on seed that we could be, after we do graves and stuff, we could recommend that the people who come in and fill in the grave space, that they start using the seed mixture so that it's slow growing, so that we don't have, it'll be less maintenance. So he's reached out to his vendor, and he's gonna get back to me as soon as they have something that they would recommend for the cemeteries. It's something that they normally don't do, but Sean was nice enough to respond
Yeah.
right away, and he says he's gonna get back to us. I thought that was great.
very good, and an email from Emily Mitchell on a virtual option for pre-planning seminars.
Yeah, so,
Didn't we just get an email from New England Cemetery on turf grass?
Yeah, I got something. Is
Yeah.
for another seminar coming up or something?
I think
yeah, there's
it's-
another one that's coming up. That's being put on by a vendor, and that's their vendors trying to sell what they sell. So, I mean, we can attend that, or we can have Sean get us the information or
Something
check.
to maybe do next meeting.
Okay,
I was thinking, didn't want to skip over it. Thank
Because
you.
we got it from the association.
yeah. So, Emily and me, had a discussion. We were unable to do a pre-planning seminar last year, which is, extremely helpful to our seniors. I mean, a lot of them, we just had a guy die that was in hospice. His friend was his, caregiver, and he had no idea what options, this person who died, did not have any money, and just the different options that they could do. Mass Health will pay for a cremation. There's all different things that they just don't know that they can reach out to for services, and that's something that we would like to address with some of them, so that they're aware. If they were a veteran, then they could go to the Bourne National, or, the different options that they have. So because we haven't been able to have one, and now with the new Omicron variant, we're concerned about having an in-person one, or trying to schedule an in-person one, and then not being able to host it. So we are gonna reach out to some of the vendors who we normally speak at our seminars that we have, and see if they'd be willing to do a virtual one with us. And that way we can address some of these issues for them. And, we usually go over cemetery lot usage and cremations and full body burials. We usually have somebody from the funeral home talk. Florist companies can come and talk about flowers. I actually get a phone call the other day from a family asking us if we could recommend a florist place. A lot of people use theirs flowers forever.
Yeah.
And theirs would bring their Christmas wreath, so they would do their, anniversary flowers or whatever for a death. And now that they're gone, people are asking us, who would we recommend? Or is there anyone in the town that would pick up that service?
We've used the one right by Buka's restaurant, the one on the corner there.
So is it New England Gardens?
New England
Yeah.
Gardens,
Yeah.
yeah.
So New England Gardens is excellent. White's Flowers is excellent. Is Brett too, Lady Brett. So I mean, not that we're gonna sway somebody one way or another, but it would be nice to have a list. So if somebody calls, we can say, just like we have the vendors
Yeah.
that we have that do internments or that do markers, we might wanna consider getting a list of people who do flowers or something to that effect. So we also are gonna get some information on, people who are indigent or just, they don't have the money to do a burial, just to help them out. So many people are now living beyond their years and they didn't save enough money to live to be 100. And, most people thought they'd live to be 80 and they retire when they're 65 and now they're 100 and they have no money left and they're living on assistance and they don't have money to pay for services. So depending on their circumstances, we want to be able to give them other options that are available at the town. I did explain to her that, this person is indigent, that the town would give an indigent member of the town a free burial space if they needed it. So just discussing it with her when this came up last week, we thought that maybe it's time to do another one, even if it's virtual. So we're gonna sit down and look at the different options that we could do. And every time we do one of these virtual ones, we used to make a CD. This is fantastic now that we have Channel 18 that videotapes all of our stuff. So then they could just put it live and it could be on the YouTube station. So I think it'd be a great resource for our town people here so that they can, residents, so they can know what their options are.
Sounds good.
So I will get back to you. We probably won't work on that for a couple weeks or so, but
Yeah, that's
not for next meeting, but I just thought, let you be aware that we are both working.
Okay, anybody have any other new business?
Not that I can think of.
So the next meeting will be on February 2nd, next
First,
Tuesday?
I think it's first.
It is
It is the first?
Tuesday the 1st.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to adjourn meeting?
So moved.
Seconded?
Second.
It's 11:07.
Meeting's adjourned at 11:07.